Good morning, boys and girls. This week we're still studying the elements of a story. Our skill is I can identify and explain the elements of a story. And the elements of a story, we can best remember them by remembering the acronym STORY. The S in story is for setting, where and when a story takes place. Does it take place in the house? Does it take place in the morning? Does it take place at the park? Or the T, talking characters. That means any person that's talking, any animal that's talking, and it could be even be an object, like in Beauty and the Beast, the teacups were talking. The O is for the oops, or the problem in the story. What is it that a character wants and can't have? What does a character need and can absolutely not have? The R is for resolution. Resolution is how many times did the character attempt to fix the problem? And the Y is for yes, it's fixed. That is the solution. So today's story is going to be Jamaica and the substitute teacher. Jamaica and the substitute teacher. And this story is written by Juanita Havel, and the illustrations are by Anne Sibley O'Brien. Hurry, Brianna, Jamaica said. I want to see who our substitute is. Brianna caught up. I hope she's nice. Me too. Tuesday, May 3rd, Mrs. Duval. A woman wearing a silky blue and green dress and a blue scarf was writing on the blackboard. She turned around. Good morning, students. My name is Mrs. Duval. She gave them tags to fill out. If you write your names on these, it will be easier for me to learn them. Did Mrs. Duval tell you she would be out of town all week? She went to Ohio, Thomas said. Yes, she did. And while she's gone, I plan for us to work hard. But we'll have fun, too. Mrs. Duval smiled at the class. Jamaica gave a thumbs up to Brianna. First, we're going to hunt for a hidden object. I hid it in the classroom before you came. Mrs. Duval gave them 2 clues. It's something that lives in Antarctica, and its name starts with the same letter as the object it is hidden in. All the kids scrambled around the room except Jamaica. Penguins, she thought. They had read about penguins last week. She looked at the ledge by the window. She found a plastic penguin in one of the flower pots. Very good, Jamaica. Tomorrow will be your turn to hide an object. I'll come early, said Jamaica. Next, they had reading groups. Nice job, Mrs. Duval said after Thomas read. When Jamaica's turn came, she read loud and clear. She knew all the words. You read very well, said Mrs. Duval. Jamaica felt like singing. In math class, they did puzzles. Jamaica had all the right answers. So did Cynthia and Thomas. Mrs. Duval let them choose stickers to put on their papers. Jamaica chose a gray kitten and with yellow eyes. Cats are my favorite animals, Jamaica told Mrs. Duval. I like cats too, said Mrs. Duval. After lunch, Mrs. Duval read a story. Then it was time for spelling. Oh no, Jamaica thought. She had forgotten about the test. Would you like a minute to go over the words? Mrs. Duval asked. Yes, everyone said except Thomas. I know all the words already, he said. I wish I did, Jamaica said to herself. She looked at the list and tried to memorize every word. Time to start, Mrs. Duval said. The first 5 words were easy. Then Mrs. Duval said calf. Jamaica's mind went blank. She chewed on her pencil. She stared out of the window. She closed her eyes. I'll never get a perfect paper, she thought. When she opened her eyes, she noticed Brianna's paper. She could see the letters too. C-A-L-F, calf. Jamaica wrote on her paper. Then she looked up. Was Miss Duval staring at her? Jamaica looked back down at the paper. What would Miss Duval think if she had seen her copy? Okay, time to exchange papers, Mrs. Duval said, and she put the spelling list on the board. Jamaica wrote 100% on Brianna's paper. Brianna drew a happy face on Jamaica's paper and put A+++ across the top. When Jamaica got her test back, she crossed out the happy face. It's not a perfect paper if it looks like one, she thought. Please pass your spelling papers to the front, Mrs. Duval said. Jamaica put hers in her desk. Next came art, Jamaica's favorite class, but she couldn't think of anything to draw. Jamaica, could you come up here for a minute, Mrs. Duval said. Jamaica got up and walked slowly to Mrs. Duval's desk. Your spelling test isn't with the others, Jamaica. Did you hand it in? Jamaica shook her head. I could tell you my score. I'd like to see it, Mrs. Duval said. Jamaica showed her the paper. It should say -1. I missed calf. CALF. It's right, Mrs. Duval said. But I didn't know how to spell it, said Jamaica. I copied. Jamaica started to explain why she wanted to get a perfect paper, but it was too hard. I'm sorry, Mrs. Duval, she said. I know, said Mrs. Duval. It wasn't easy for you to tell me you copied. Mrs. Duval's voice was low, almost a whisper. You know, Jamaica, you don't have to be perfect to be special in my class. All my students are special. I'm glad you're one of them. You are? Said Jamaica. Mrs. Duval nodded. So am I, said Jamaica. I hope you can be our substitute teacher again. Jamaica sat back down at her desk and began to draw, but she didn't have time to finish her picture. She took it home and colored in the gray kitten and Mrs. Duval with her 100 braids. Then she wrote, for Mrs. Duval from Jamaica. Tomorrow she would give her picture to Mrs. Duval. Tomorrow, first thing in the morning, she would hide an object in the classroom. Jamaica couldn't wait. For Mrs. Duval from Jamaica. Now, boys and girls, when we think about the elements of a story, when we think about the S in our story, well, I can see that most of the story took place at school. So the setting would be at school. And then when I think about the talking characters, I know that when I think about the talking character, I know that Jamaica was talking. So let's start with the S. The S in our story was school. The T in our story was, let's see, Jamaica. And Mrs. Duval. There are more people, but those two did all the talking. The O in our story was, Jamaica couldn't spell calf. Could not spell calf. So she felt bad. The R in our story, her attempt to resolve her problem, was she copied. She copied. But when she copied, it didn't resolve her problem because she felt bad because she knew that she didn't earn the perfect paper. So the why was just as fixed. She confessed. She told Mrs. Duvall the truth. And Mrs. Duvall told her she did not have to be perfect, because you don't have to be perfect. You just have to do the very best. So our S is school, our T is Jamaica and Mrs. Duvall that are talking characters. The OOS was Jamaica could not spell calf and felt bad. The R was she copied. She tried to resolve it. And the Y was, you know what? I'll just tell Mrs. Duvall. And that was the solution to her problem. And Ms. Duvall assured her that she didn't have to be perfect. All right. Thank you, boys and girls. You have an assignment on Google Classroom. Have a great day of learning. Bye.